Ooh, man. Unbelievable.
That was funny. Good story. Thanks for sharing that. Oh, hello.
Oh, hi.
How are you? Well,
Come on in.
welcome to Holidays 2020.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Wow. Looking good. I like your shirt.
Oh, yes. I got it from a 5K, Brian.
Oh, really?
Yes, I've done a lot of 5Ks, haven't you?
I've done quite a few. And we're going to tell you a story about a 5K plus a little something else. That's the theme of the whole Thanksgiving thing, is storytelling.
Indeed. Well, we got a story about that.
Yeah.
Yes. Now, let me tell you. I've done a lot of 5Ks.
That's true.
I mean, comparatively to some, but have you ever felt like you were totally out of your league?
In a 5K?
Yeah.
Not really.
Yeah, me neither.
I don't do them really hard.
Yeah.
So it's more
Well,
of a
there's some
casual
people that
thing,
are
yeah.
really good.
Yeah.
We don't see those people for very long, like at the beginning. And that's about it. Maybe when they're passing us. And then there's people that you don't see for very long. You run past them.
Yeah.
Right. But there was one 5K that did not happen.
Oh, really?
Yeah, yeah.
Was it just a 5K?
No!
How did we get pulled into this sort
Listen,
of thing?
I tell you what. Nathan. That's why.
Nathan does 5Ks.
Nathan does triathlon.
This is the shirt of the event being discussed.
And let's talk about the triathlon. Because we signed up for a relay, right?
Yeah.
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 So we prepared. How did we prepare? Byron?
Well, we've never done a triathlon before.
Sure
so
have.
this isn't a serious event, because in a serious event, you can't do a relay race style triathlon. So Nathan said, one person could do the swim, somebody else could do the bike, and somebody else could do the run, or you both could do the run. It would make it a lot less intimidating, because I've never swam or biked in an event. And Becky?
I've never swam or biked in an event.
So we'll just chop that right in half, and we'll make it nice and easy for us.
Okay. So you took the swimming.
I took the swim, and I
Went to the Y. Yeah.
And I was practicing.
Yes, you did. And I took my bike onto all these gravel roads. Went really far. I went over 10 miles multiple times.
How far was your... My swim was across the lake.
You did 400 meters and I did 12.4 miles on a bike.
12.4 miles on a bike.
No, that in itself isn't the bad part.
That seems far, though, for
So,
a bike race.
Let's start. This was just at Waterfront. Your friendly neighborhood PF Chang's right next door.
They've got that water behind it there.
And we show up, and right then and there, I knew. You know how I knew? For one, you don't get a tag. They write on you. They're writing on my body
With a Sharpie?
for my number.
The
That's
big old
weird.
marker.
Never done that. Number two, people had onesies. I didn't have a onesie.
Not a flap in the back.
Not that kind of onesie. They had outfits. And they were serious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
I knew at that point. I was out of my league.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
At all of our 5Ks, they're pretty casually like a fundraising event for something. There's going to be people walking. There's people, of course, people go very fast and are very serious about it. And there's most people like us who are going to run it, but we're also not going to be pushing ourselves real hard. We're just doing it to enjoy the event. Right?
Us and apparently no one else.
So, still being intimidated by the water event, and Nathan claiming to be no fish in the water either, we decided that we were going to go towards the back. They said if the fast swimmers were going to let them go first, the medium swimmers will go in the middle. They let one person start at a time every 30 seconds. They didn't want us having collisions in the water. And I was like, well, I'll go last. I volunteered. I'll go last. Nathan went second to last, or maybe vice versa. I can't remember.
You were after Nathan.
I was after Nathan. And that's how we started. So it was nice. I did a swim by myself, nothing else in the water.
How nice.
I get out of the water, and then I realized, although it's not, you can't look by the time, you can just look by, looking at where people are. I'm in last. I may not be in last. I might be third to last or fifth to last, but if you look at me, I'm the last one to come out of the water.
Oh, no, I watched everyone else get their bikes. Everybody else.
So I run up to the bike thing, and that's where Becky is. She's ready to go, and she takes off on the bicycle.
There you go. I take off on my bicycle, watching all these other people with the fanciest bikes I've ever seen in my life and I have my cute little purple hybrid bike. Might as well throw a basket on that thing. Don't get me wrong, I like it. I got it for Christmas present. You got it for me. But I did not fit in.
That's true. And so 12 miles on a bike that's not made for racing is actually pretty far, pretty hard to do.
I was putting my feet, I was pedaling as fast as I could make my little feet go. And then there's all these people, whoosh, and they were going way far. With one stroke, whoosh, they were going so far. And I'm like,
in the wrong gear.
Yes. And because I started last, thank you, Byron, then, everybody else, they were on like their third lap.
Yeah, it's a
And
4
I'm on
mile
lap
lap
number
around
one.
the block.
Yeah.
3 times.
Yes. So, at least there's other people around. And that lasted for 1 lap. Because, for one, I didn't clearly not fit in. I don't have a onesie and I don't have a very expensive bike. And also, I'm not going as fast as they are. So, at least there were people on lap 1. Lap number 2, saw 1 person. Lap number 3, no one. Lap number 4, also no one. And I could tell for sure because the volunteers that are blocking off traffic, they're blocking it off for just me. And they were bored to death. And I could tell, like, the first time, I always like to thank the volunteers. Thank you. And eventually it was like, sorry.
So from my perspective, we were watching Becky every lap around the block that she does. And everybody, she has her helmet on that's not very sporty. It's just a normal bike helmet, right?
It's just normal.
And she's doing her bicycle like this. And everyone else has these sleek helmets on, the aerodynamic. They're in tights. They've got the shoes that clip into the bike. They're down low, pedaling like this. Becky's doing this.
Trying my hardest. Okay.
Yeah, ridiculous.
I felt ridiculous.
Yeah. So that was she got off the bike and we both ran it and we passed a few people on the run.
Yes,
were
we
pretty
passed
far
a
back.
few people. We passed them. They were older than Oma and Papa. Those are the people that we passed.
Yeah.
One was limping.
So, yeah. So just a lesson, if you're doing a triathlon, it's going to be a little more serious than your average 5K.
Maybe find a couple groups that aren't as serious. Or just know. It's fine. And just, maybe apologize to the volunteers as you go by because that's all.
Yeah, and Nathan did great. Nathan had a great bike.
Oh,
and he
Nathan
took
was
off.
great.
Yeah.
Nobody's waiting. Nathan didn't have to apologize for anyone.
So that's our opening story. And most of the stories, I think, if not all of them, will just be people themselves. But happy Thanksgiving, everyone. And enjoy the stories of 2020.
Would you believe it? A guy running with a person in a wheelchair, passing somebody on a track, running on a track. It's pretty hard to believe, I know, but that actually happened. So I go out with my friend Henry, who's in a wheelchair. He's, 4 or 5 years younger than I was. I was probably, 17 years old or so. He was probably 13 or 14, I don't know. And he was born a Siamese twin. So he was attached to his twin at birth, and they separated him. And during the separation, his spine was messed up, and he could walk with braces when he was younger, but as he got older, the braces didn't work, and he had steel rods in his back, his spine. So he was pretty much confined to a wheelchair as he got older. And so I would take him out and push him in his wheelchair. And sometimes he liked to go fast. And so what I would do is I'd pull back on the 2 big wheels, back wheels of his wheelchair, and kind of jog with him. Now one time we were out just kind of jogging along, and we were over there by the school, and there was a track on the school, and there's this young person who's younger than I was, but probably older than Henry, who was running on the track. And I said to Henry, he said, "You think we could pass him?" He said, "Yes." So I started running real hard with Henry in the wheelchair, and pretty soon we passed this guy. Went all the way past him, got way ahead of him, and I don't know what happened. I think he quit running. I don't know. And it wasn't long after that, as I was pushing Henry, his wheel came off of his wheelchair. One of the wheels that we were riding on went rolling past Henry. And so I had to hold his wheelchair, 2 hands, keep it from falling down. And he just laughed. He thought that was the funniest thing. It was just a really good time. So I had to stop, set his wheelchair down, and go get his wheel, which had rolled off a ways, put it back on his wheelchair, and then we slowed down going home. We didn't go quite so fast. That was the time we passed a guy in a wheelchair. Henry's in a wheelchair, and I was pushing him. The guy was on a track running. So that's what happened.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to my video story. I have options for you. Would you like to hear option number 1 about how I had to choose between Isaac and Khaki? Option number 2, my bicycle and piano lesson. Or option number 3, the case of the missing or misplaced car. Well, good choice. You chose the bike and the piano lesson. And I happen to be standing here with my bike. This is the very bike, as far as I remember. This is a story that begins one lovely weekend, I think, day when I was younger. I can't remember the details. I was riding my bike to piano lesson, and as I was so skilled at doing, I could ride without hands, and I could ride without paying attention. And I would just coast down the street. No big deal. Just keep going. I would eventually arrive at piano lessons, and then I would get told my nails were too long, and I didn't practice enough, and then I would ride back home. And that's how that went. Well, on this fine day, I was riding along, per usual, not paying attention to the direction I was going, but definitely paying attention to other things, of which I cannot remember, but they were very important to look at. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, comes a parked van, and boom, crash, boom, 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 boom. I crashed into a parked van. Don't worry, I'm okay. And bonus, I probably don't have to go to piano lesson now. So my front tire is literally folded into the shape of a rectangle. I drag my bike home and show my dad, look what happened to me. Luckily I'm okay, and too bad I cannot go to piano lesson, but like I said, I'm okay, so we're okay. And Dad says, oh, no problem. A couple of and the bike is back in working order. The wheel is now round again, and he gives me the bike and says, go to your lesson. So, lesson learned. You still have to go to your lesson. And lesson learned, you should pay attention to where you're going.
I'm going to tell you the story about the impossible plant. Now, I've never claimed to have a green thumb, and I'm really not good at taking care of houseplants. So I asked Mom for some advice, and she said that most plants die from overwatering instead of underwatering. And I took that advice and decided, you know what? Every Sunday will be the day I water the plants, and that's just going to be like a routine, and it's going to help me keep these plants alive longer. And so that's what I did. Every Sunday I got a pitcher and I watered the plants, and it's going pretty good. I kept several plants going for quite a while. And then we moved, and most of the plants got put where they needed to go. And my Sunday routine started, and of course sometimes Becky would do it instead, and really as of now she does most of that. But a little after we moved, in fact, not quite a little, but around 3 or 4 months after we moved, I was in our basement. And the part of our basement that doesn't even have a window. And I found one of our plants. Now this plant I'd cared for a long time. And I was always happy that it was one of them that wasn't going to die on me, because this plant was looking good. And I was really impressed with my ability to keep it alive. But there in the basement, away from any light source and away from my weekly waterings, I found this plant. And guess what? It looked good. So I was excited, and I grabbed the plant and I took it to Becky. I said, look, this plant, this one. I found it downstairs, and it's not dead. It's been down there since we moved. Isn't that great? I was amazed that this plant had survived not only the severe drought that I had put it through, my lack of weekly waterings that I've been doing for a long time, but also survived in the dark away from the vital sunlight that plants need to survive. And Becky said, it's plastic. Doesn't even have dirt in it. I've been watering this little shredded newspaper and not even noticed it for the longest time. So I was kind of fooled by a plant. And I quit watering this thing, and it still looks the same.
Okay. Go ahead, Lois.
So in Fortnite on Team Rumble,
Well, what's the name of the story? Team Rumble?
no, like,
The Fort Nitrous?
no.
Well, let's name the story. The first part is having a name.
The name is gonna be The Best Loadout.
The Best Loadout.
Yes.
So Lewis is going to tell a story, and the name of the story is The Best Loadout. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so I was on Team Rumble. I have
That's
two
distracting.
stories,
Don't do that.
actually. I have two stories.
Well, tell us the story of its
Okay.
name is The Best Loadout.
The best loadout is, like, I went on Team Rumble. I landed at Lazy Lake, and I got a fishing rod, and then I fished like a fishing pole, and I got a pump,
Oh.
like the purple pump. It's like real good. And next off, I got a blue assault rifle. I upgraded it, and then when I found the chest, I opened it. I think it got me a blue FAMAS. And then I got like meds, and then I got a victory.
So when you're growing up, you're lucky if you have a grandmother or a oma, someone that you can relate to and talk to about things. But when I was growing up, I had my grandmother, my dad's mother, Grandma Chabara, and we were really close. Out of all her grandchildren, I'm pretty sure I was her favorite. I don't know, she probably had 20-some grandkids. So anyway, I would do things for Grandma, whatever she wanted. I'd help her plant a garden in summer and things, but she had a problem. In her attic of her home, birds had broken into her attic. They broke the glass, and they were making nests up there, and there are lots of birds up there. They're pigeons. Now, Grandma grew up on a farm, and she's used to having game and cooking game and stuff, and so my dad and his brothers would bring a rabbit home or quail or pheasant, and they would clean it, and she would cook it. It was just part of what they did. It's how they lived. So Grandma said she wanted me to go up in the attic, and she wanted me to block the windows because the pigeons had broken a window, bits of pane of glass, and they'd gotten in the attic, and they were up there making noise, making a mess, as birds will do. And she said she wanted me to catch those pigeons and get them out of there. And of course, it would mean the demise of the pigeons, because if you just turn them loose, they'll just come right back. That's just what pigeons would do. So I had to get rid of them. So I took a bag with me, and I went up in the attic, and the first thing I had to do was I had to block the window where they came in, and so that they couldn't get out. Well, a few would get out before I could get the window blocked, but I had it blocked, and then I started catching pigeons in her attic. And the attic flooring was 2x4s that I had to step on. If I stepped between them, I was liable to crash through to the next floor. So anyway, I caught a bunch of pigeons that were up there. I caught all of them that didn't get out, took them downstairs, and Grandma said, well, clean them. So I knew how to clean a bird. You know, it's part of what you learn when you go hunting. So I cleaned the pigeons, and I took them back in. She washed them off. Next thing I know, she was cooking them. She cooked those pigeons. And you know what? They were really pretty good to eat. We had pigeon that my grandmother cooked and that I caught out of her attic. Now, just in case you're interested what her home looked like, this is what her home looked like. And this up here is the attic where I was. Only it had glass windows on it. And if you notice, Grandma had what's called a wraparound covered porch. That was really a nice porch. This is the side view. Now over here, the same house, here's the porch and the front view. And you can't see the window that's up here because the tree's in the way, but it actually was where the pigeons would get in as well. A glass window up there. So that's the story about the time I helped my grandmother get pigeons out of her attic. I hope you enjoyed this story.
Happy Thanksgiving. I just want to share a time when failure in my life turned out to be success long term. So when I was in high school, it was the first year, I was a freshman, my first year of high school, when they were going to have a football team for the first time. Very exciting. Well, I wasn't going to be a football player. I played soccer, and I did throughout my high school and junior high. But having a football team also means you're going to have cheerleaders. So I tried out for the cheer squad. I made it, and it was a lot of fun being a cheerleader. You get to go to all the games, you get to be with a bunch of your friends, and it was a very good time. So during that, once that progressed into another season, it was almost time for basketball season, which means now I'm going to try out for, no, not basketball cheerleaders, which is a smaller squad. So they're going to pick a lot less people. And so I tried out, and there was 3 of us that were very good friends, and one of my friends made it, but me and another friend did not make it. And I was really disappointed. I was embarrassed, and I was also felt left out because one of my friends made it. So what my friend and I decided to do is, well, we're gonna do something else. Let's try this taekwondo place. And so we did. I remember I told my mom I was interested, and so she was all for it. And I remember telling my father that I was going to start, and he laughed at me. And it kind of made me mad, to think that maybe I couldn't do it. So that really motivated me to prove him wrong. So I started taekwondo, and right away I wasn't very good at it, but I worked hard. I kept going, and when the basketball season kicked off and people were really busy, I was going to taekwondo, and I started to get better at it. I stayed in it, and I kept doing it, and I started to pass belt tests. I started to get higher level of belts, and eventually I became when I come in upper belt, my master instructor asked me to be an assistant instructor. So I started teaching as well. And then I started helping out with women's self-defense classes. I even failed one of my belt testings, my red-black belt test, which is before black belt. But when I failed, I started to get really detailed about what I wasn't doing that great. And that even made me a lot better. And so one of the hardest things I've ever done in my life, the hardest thing physically I've ever done in my life, was my black belt testing. And eventually I became a second degree black belt. And That was really hard, but I would never have done it if I had not made the cheer squad. And while I still did taekwondo, the next year I did try out again. I worked hard and practiced to be a better cheerleader, and not only was I doing taekwondo, but also became a basketball cheerleader too. So I did that for the rest of my high school career. So thankfully, that helped me a lot when I started my law enforcement career too, is that I was confident that I could handle myself, and that's kind of funny because now I'm a defensive tactics instructor for the police department. So if I hadn't, not made the team when I was 14, maybe I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing now. So failure can be okay. That's all.
Alright, so I'm going to be telling my story about the time when I went to the Hoover Dam, and across it, it's a huge dam that is super tall. I don't know how tall it is, but so we were going across. We went from Las Vegas to Arizona, and we would go like 5 times, just back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And we would just drive there. It was a super long vacation. And then we had to get to the Grand Canyon. We had to drive across this Hoover Dam thing. And it was just filled up all the way with water in one end, and how a dam is. And then we had to drive across it. Like, they had this tiny little road across a huge mountain with water filled under it, and it was like a huge cliff. Like, if you fell off it, that was the end. But I was already getting motion sick to the point where I was so drowsy I couldn't see that we were doing that, so I didn't have to worry about being scared or anything. And then we got to like some place and I had to throw up, so I did. And my mom was also very sick because we both got motion sick. So, and I can't show a picture right now because I'm not that good at editing videos. So on Thanksgiving, I'll just pass a picture of it around. Alright, that was my Thanksgiving story.
Hi guys, I'm going to tell you a story. That's my cheerleading squad. I'm going to tell you a story about something that I had to do. I've only had to do it once, and I hope I never have to do it again. This all happened about 50 years ago, and I was in college, and it was the summertime, so I had a summer job that was different than most jobs people get in the summer. What I decided to do was be a volunteer at the National Institute of Health. Now, the National Institute of Health is a fantastic place and is very far away in Maryland. And what I was going to do was be a guinea pig. Well, kind of a guinea pig. And when you're a guinea pig and you're a person, that means they can do tests on you and see what happens when they do certain things. So my job was to live at the hospital and to eat their food, a special diet. I had to only eat what they gave me, and I had to eat it every day for the whole summer. I stayed there. Sometimes they would put me on a high protein diet. That means like high in meat and eggs and cheese. Sometimes they put me on a high carbohydrate diet. that would be more like potatoes and breads and stuff like that. And then they would test my blood to see what these different diets were doing to me. So I did that, and it was a good deal. And the other good deal was, since this was a teaching place, they had students in the dentistry part of the National Institute of Health that were practicing dentistry. And they asked me, do I want to have my wisdom teeth pulled? I said, well, I guess so. They said it would be free, and that the students down in the dentistry would be the ones that would pull them. So I said, okay, sign me up. I'll do that. So one day I had all 4 of my wisdom teeth pulled. Didn't hurt a bit. They did a great job. The thing is, I got back up to my room, and guess what? There was my supper. And it was a high-protein supper. Nobody had changed my diet, of course. So this is the thing I did one time that I hope I never have to do again. I had a big plate of meat, and I cut up my meat into teeny tiny little pieces, and like pills, and I swallowed them. Took me a long time, but I ate my whole meal, one little teeny tiny piece at a time. And I hope you never have to do that, because that was a hard thing to do, but it was worth it. Hope you enjoyed my story and all the barking in the background. Bye.
Hello, everyone. This is me, Henry, and I have a story to tell you guys. It's about my first ever all-nighter. So, I wanted my 11th birthday to be the best birthday, and it was this year, so, and about a month ago, so, you know. And anyways, so, I want to invite all my friends. The best birthday ever. We were planning to have an all-nighter. My friend Sam, he hates sleepovers. But he stayed because it was an all-nighter. My mom was like, literally was super sure. She was like, your friend Sam hates sleepovers. Are you sure you want to do... Sorry, let me get into care. Are you sure you want to do this? And I was like, yeah, whatever. It's my friend's choice. Okay, I'm still going to make sure. And then she made sure or something. I don't know. Anyway, and then she was like, and then... I drank 3 cans of soda so we can stay up all night. And whoever fell asleep first got poured on them cold, freezing water while they were asleep. Wow, I really did not want to get that. So then my friend Josh, he was playing My Little Pony so much. And then my friend Sam, he tried to unplug the Alexa that we were using, because, you know, and he unplugged it, and they got on the ground, wrestled, and Josh and Sam accidentally knocked out Josh's tooth. Which, by the way, I didn't tell my parents yet. Yeah, it was crazy. And then after that, we all had, what was that? Oh, my bad. We had zebra cakes, we had my cake, you know, all that. Anyway, so my friend Wyatt, he brought his Nintendo Switch. We all played Rocket League because he had it. Rocket League is like car soccer. I'm not going to explain it all, but we all played it. It was fun. Anyway, after that, we had a Fortnite kind of like duke out where it was where like all of us, we see who got the best placement. And whoever got the worst placement had to sit down, sleep, and close eyes for 10 minutes. Luckily, I didn't win, but Sam, ironically enough, he was drinking a big pot, so he was at like 1 HP. And then I was like, how funny, because he was hiding behind a staircase so he can drink it. And then I was like, how funny enough would it be that a guy just showed up there and just one-pumped you? Pow. And it happens. And I was like, oh my god. And he blamed it on lag. And then so my friend Joel, he fixed the lag or something. Or my dad, I don't know. And then he tried it again. He still lost. So he sat down for 10 minutes. And first person who fell asleep was Joel. but then he woke up shortly after. And then he fell asleep again, this time for like that. And then my friend Sam, at 5 o'clock, he fell asleep. It was just me, Wyatt, and Josh. I was watching some Fresh for some reason. I don't know why. It was in my YouTube recommended. Anyway, so then in my gaming chair, it's so comfortable. And I just dozed off into sleep. And then I wake up. And I look at my clock, which is, wait a minute, right here. Anyway, I wake up, I see the clock, it reads 1 p.m. And I'm like, I fell asleep for so long, my God. And then I hear Lewis's TV, and I'm like, oh, wait, they're back. Oh, shoot. No, I did something wrong. And Mom offered me pizza, and I had a leftover zebra cake, so I just ate that. I completely missed lunch. Completely. So that is my story on my first ever all-nighter, and I'm kind of recovered. My mom was like, since we all had a bad sleep, like this is the next day, she's like, let's all go to bed at 8:30. So, yeah, that's my story on how my first all-nighter turned into a huge, crazy time. So, and rest in peace, Josh's tooth. It's at my house. I don't know where it is. Well, anyways, I like G.
Okay, I don't have a lot of time, but I'm going to try to explain my story. So, first, it's a normal day. I'm just fishing with some friends. Me, Caleb, Walker, and Parker. Just a few friends of mine. We're fishing. We all caught at least a couple fish. Pretty good day. But me, Parker, and Caleb had practice probably around in 30 minutes at this time. And at the time, it was just normal. Everything was going good until Parker started screaming. He said, I got a giant one! Come help me! I can't reel it in! So, we go to come help him. One man's reeling, one is holding the pole, trying to pull it in, and one's pulling in the string. We're like, what could this be? Because none of us know. And after a while, we found out that he's reeling in a coat and a blanket. Not this one, but a coat and a blanket. So we have no idea what's going on. After this, we go to the same area, and my dad catches a boot. So we're real confused, and it's all behind one of our neighbors' yards. So we're assuming it probably goes to their yard, and we go to find a broken vase right next to their backyard, like right outside of their backyard, a broken vase, and then another vase that is on the shore of the pond. So we're really confused, but we can't really investigate because we have to go to practice. But after practice, we find out that the kid that lives in that house took off all of his clothes, threw them in the lake, smashed a vase, and threw another vase in the lake. So, to this day, I still don't know the point of what he was trying to do, but that's my story.
So, the story is about me, mostly, and Mom, and kind of Gretchen. One day, Gretchen had a band concert, and she didn't want to be late. And so Gretchen and Mom were running around the house going, everybody get in the car, hurry up, hurry up. And I was like, ugh, you don't want to be late because Gretchen will be mad. So I ran, I was like, I'm going to get in the car, like Mom says. So I got in the car because Mom said, get in the car. And so I sat and I waited for a few minutes for everyone else to get in the car. So we all got in the car and we drove out to Goddard for Gretchen's band concert. And we get out there and they park the car and I realize I don't have any shoes on. And I started getting really upset, crying a little bit. and Mom started laughing. She laughed so hard and thought it was the funniest thing, and everyone jumped out and went inside, and I did not want to go in. And then I finally agreed I had to go in. I was so embarrassed. And then I ended up sitting on the end, on the aisle. I don't know why they would let me sit in the inside, but I had to sit on the aisle. And I was so mad that they made me do that. So Mom put her purse on my feet to cover up my feet because I was so embarrassed. And Mom laughed the whole time. So that's that story.
And then my next story is...
What's the name of this story?
This name is this story. It's called Season 3 Loadout. But it's Season 3.
Oh, season 3 loadout. Okay, go ahead. Tell the story.
Okay, my story is I landed at a place where nobody lands.
What's it called?
I don't remember.
Okay.
But I opened one chest.
Would you say it was a little sus that you landed there?
No.
Oh.
Nobody landed there, and then I found the chest like on the pipes, and I opened it. Like, you can't believe this. It's on Soros. I opened the normal exactly chest. I opened it. You can never get a golden scar from just Solos in
Fortnite
normal
season
chest
3.
in Fortnite
Yeah.
season 3.
And you did?
And I got it.
Oh man!
And then I killed somebody with it. I think I got attack or charge, and then I got like, wow.
Did you win the game or no?
No, I died, but that was a good loadout.
That was a good loadout. Remember that time. Thanks, Lois.
Bye.
I'd like to tell you about a time where the police showed up to an event that I was at. And I'm not one of the police at this time. This was before I was a cop. So I was doing taekwondo, like I had told you about earlier. And I had done that for a couple years. But also that was something that was offered at this same dojo was women's self-defense courses. And they happened on Saturdays throughout the year. And they were, several week course. So I decided that I'd go to this course because I'd never done it before, and my Miss Stamps, who is my master instructor, teaches it. So there's a group of women, and she's our teacher, and you start out by she's introducing herself. This is the very first day of the whole course, and she's introducing herself, and she starts about things that you can do to be safe before you even becomes physical. There's a lot of things that you can do, and we're listening to her, and it's very interesting. And then all of a sudden, there's somebody that comes in into the dojo, and he starts yelling, and he's all mad and upset. And what's he mad about? So Miss Stamps, she pops up, and she's very firm. She was sometimes very scary to her students in a good way, but it would put the fear of hearts into your hearts. Anyway, so she starts yelling back at him. She's not going to let him, scream at us. And so then he starts approaching her. So she starts approaching him, being careful, and he comes at her and he tries to grab her, and she does this awesome self-defense move, and boom, he's on the ground, and it's amazing. And then we're like, oh wow, that was really good. I mean, it was impressive. And then he stands up and he introduces himself, and this is one of our upper belts, which I knew the whole time who it was, so I understood what was going on. But it was very convincing because she was really convincing, and so was he. He was intimidating, And so they are talking about, hi, I'm so and so, and I'm a red belt here, and this is how she starts out every women's self-defense course. Is she has this, and she asks you, what was going on, and what were you thinking during this, and how should you respond? How do you think was the best way to respond, and things like that. And then as they're talking and explaining, all of a sudden, we see out the door, because it was all glass, an officer, and then a second officer, Bel Air officers, show up, and they walk in, and they go straight to the guy. He's the only guy in the room, so it stood out a little bit in this women's self-defense class. And we heard there was a disturbance, and well, there was, but it was fake, you know, and so we have to explain ourselves. Everything is figured out. And finally, you know, Jamie over here is like, yeah, I called the police. I thought it was real. So turns out it wasn't. And Jamie found that out. But what I always wondered, and we didn't ask because it happened and it was too late anyway, but Jamie, when we figured out the truth, what were you doing? You know, after the this is Clark and he's a red belt or whatever. Weren't you thinking like, hey, maybe I should call him back? Or, oh, I bought it. That was really good acting. Maybe you would say something like, I'm sorry I called the police just so you know they're coming. But no. Jamie was silent. So I don't know about Jamie. She really wasn't that good in self-defense class anyway. So, but anyway, if that happens and mistakens our identity, lesson number 2 of the course, maybe you should let people know. It's fine. People make mistakes. Thank you.
Hi guys, I'm going to tell you a quick story about a time when I was young, probably about 7 years old, and we went on a family vacation, and this was the time when my love of shopping changed the whole family's habit. So we were on vacation, Mom and Dad, and then there's 5 of us kids. So we stopped at a gas station in Florida. Dad got gas. We all got out and went to the bathroom. And then something happened. Mom and Dad and my siblings got in the car and went on their way. And I was looking around at the gift shop and suddenly realized that, my family's gone. What's the deal? So I told the gas station man that I was all by myself and that my family was on vacation and they left me at the gas station. So the gas station man was a very nice person and he figured things out. My dad had asked him where a good place to go eat would be. So this gas station man called the restaurant and told them that if a family with 4 kids comes to their restaurant, to please tell them that they left one of their kids at the gas station and to come back and get me. And then that's exactly what happened. So after that, the family tradition was that every time we got out of the car and got back into the car to go further down the road on our vacation, everyone had to count off. So my oldest brother was number 1, and then my sister Barbara was number 2, Bill was number 3, I was number 4, and Carolyn was number 5. So every time we got in the car from then on, we had to count off 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We all hollered, and that way Mom and Dad could tell that we were all in the car, safe and sound. You know what? I've loved to shop ever since then, and it hasn't. That experience did not change my love of shopping. Shoo, that's good because it's a fun thing to do. That's all. Talk to you later. Bye.
All right, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I want to honor you with the story, the telling of the scary, confusing time when my husband and I misplaced our car. That's right, we misplaced it. Now, I'm sure this has happened to you and you can totally relate, but if not, listen closely because this is a cautionary tale of what not to do. Take my word for it. This was back in the late 90s, okay, guys, before many of you were born. and we lived alone and together, but not with kids. And we had a tiny apartment, which I thought was very cozy and well decorated. That's right, I did it. And we had one car that we shared, which was fine because we left it in the parking lot outside our apartment, and we walked to school and home from school every day, both ways, uphill there, uphill back. You know the story. You've heard that part before. Well, one morning, Jim wakes up getting ready to go to school and happens to notice outside in the parking lot, our car is gone. He comes running back up the stairs and wakes me up, probably. I can't remember if I was awake. Anyways, announces in no uncertain terms, our car has been stolen. This is the only possible conclusion. What? I cannot understand the situation. I mean, immediately I'm going through the fact that any other car in the whole entire parking lot would be better to steal than ours. Our car was not great. It was not worth stealing. It was not worth going to the trouble for that. Didn't make any sense, but sure enough, the car is gone. So, what do you do when that happens? You have to call the police. And then what do? They have to come and ask you a bunch of questions. And then they look around and you show them, look, this is where we parked the car and it is not here. So, X plus Y equals car is stolen. And while Jim is dealing with that situation, I decided to go ahead and walk to school uphill, which is what I did all the time. So I took off and I walked to school, and guess what happened? I went to school and I told all of my classmates, it was a class of about 175, that my car had been stolen, because I thought it was important that they know and be careful and watch out. You know, we all kind of lived in the same area, so just be on the lookout. There's going to be a car thief in the neighborhood. And sure enough, we didn't have text messaging back then or cell phones, but it was just like, and the whole room knew our car had been stolen. Fast forward to not too much longer later, and I walk outside and at the school and see in the parking lot is our car, probably where we left it the day before. Cringe. Okay, good news, right? Good news. Oops, car's not stolen. Only misplaced. I don't remember what happened after that, but I'm sure we had to let the police know that we found it, because we don't want to be driving it around as a stolen car. That'd be bad. Anyways, lesson learned. Just, you know, it's my motto. Everything in its place, and a place for everything. So, and if you're going to walk to school, walk to school. Don't drive one day out of the blue and then forget that you drove and walk home and then think that your car's stolen. I mean, that's just crazy. And a bit embarrassing, but funny 20 years later. That's it. All right. Happy ending. Yay. Car's not stolen.
I'm going to tell you a story that you may find extraordinary. You may not even believe it, but this is really true. I'll tell you about the time I was adopted. Now you're thinking, we know you weren't adopted. We know who your parents are. Yes, you know my mother and father. But what you don't know is I had a grandfather who adopted me. You know, I was not a little child. I was 16, 17 years old. I got adopted. Sounds crazy, but this really happened. Well, the way it worked out was my dad used to work at Boeing, and he was a machinist at Boeing. Well, he got laid off. And when he got laid off, I could no longer go swimming at Boeing because you had to be a member. And since Dad didn't work there anymore, I couldn't go. Well, my neighbor, John Otis, he worked at Boeing as well. And he said, I'll adopt Bobby as my grandson. And he can go swimming on my card. So I got a new card. It still had my name, Robert Jabara, grandson of John Otis. So I could go swimming at Boeing with my friend, Gary Norris. So we went swimming regularly because of John Otis. Now I have a few pictures of John that I'd like to show you. There's John, my dad, and their dad. You see, he's having a good time. And there's John with his wife. That's Gertrude. They were our neighbors, John and Gertrude Otis. They lived next door to us on Green Street. So they knew my mom and dad, of course. And as you might expect, they were good friends. Now, John and Dad, there's John and Gertrude, my mom and dad. And John and Gertrude and Dad drank a lot of beer. Now, I took some pictures of John. Here's a picture of me taking a picture of John. And this is the picture I took of him. That's my grandpa, John Otis. He was a great guy. We had a lot of fun. I helped him out in his yard and did things for him. Here he is dressed up with cowboy hats with my dad. They were good friends. Well, anyway, that's a story of the time I was adopted and I had a grandpa. Believe it or not, that's a true story.
I'm going to tell you about my biggest failure in Black Friday shopping. Now, first off, I got to tell you, I'm not a Black Friday shopper. I like the people watch. So it's a great time at airports or the fair or on Black Friday. It's fun to go around and watch people kind of be ridiculous and just be interesting individuals. So where's the best place to go on Black Friday to people watch? That's Walmart. So Becky heads out and does her thing, and I head over to Walmart to enjoy the show. And everyone, it's early in the morning on Friday, everyone's sleep deprived and grumpy, and they're competitive, trying to get the certain item that's on their list, and it's just a crazy, chaotic environment. People are wearing their pajamas in Walmart. Now, I never knew it would say, like, they used to call them pajamas or jammies. There's a million names. There's Gemmas, pajamas, Jim Jams, Mamma Jammas, onesies. There's a onesie with the flap in the back. You can also call them Walmart pants. I don't know. There's a million names for, I call them pajamas. You call them pajamas. I don't know. Either way, they're totally inappropriate for the occasion. You never want to wear pajamas when it's not appropriate. So I'm surrounded by a bunch of idiots trying to get their Black Friday items. And the best part about this is they will sometimes wrap big pallets full of stuff in black plastic. And you watch them at 8 o'clock, we're opening this one. And at 8 o'clock, they open it, and it's just chaos erupts. And I've seen a grown man come out of there fighting for, 5 copies of Spaceballs movie or something like that. Like, it's just crazy. It's fun. And I'm not here to shop. I'm here to watch. So we all know the Walmart. You walk around towards the back, and there's the automotive section. I'm back there just kind of making my round. And you know what I see? I see a ping pong ball table for $49. Now that seems like a good deal. I don't know if it's a good deal or not, so I type it in on Amazon, and it's $149 on Amazon. Price check. I just found what I'm going to get here. So I get a cart, and I'm looking at this ping pong table. I think I can get it. So I take the cart. Let me show you here. Here's the ping pong ball table stacked up high. They're about that thick, and there's a bunch of them kind of high. And then I take my cart next to the table, and I just slide it off onto the cart. Fairly easy, but it kind of half fell off, and I was able to kind of just manhandle it onto the cart. Now I have this giant cart with this ping pong table that it's 120 pounds. And I know it's 120 pounds because A, I felt it as I slid onto the table, and B, it says 120 pounds on the box right next to the picture where it says team lift, and it has 2 little figures holding the table like that. That's not what's going on. So I'm navigating this cart through a very full sea of idiots out here. I'm the only one that really knows what's going on, and I found a great deal in this place. And I make it to the checkout line, and I'm sweaty, I'm tired, and I'm pretty wore out from fighting this thing the whole way. And the cashier looks at me like I'm a big idiot. I'm like, how could I be the idiot? This is a good deal. I've got this thing and I'm going to love it. Because I remember back at my grandmother's, Grammy's house, it was ping pong in the basement was a great time. And I get the cart, buy it, or get the table, and I get up to the car. Oh yeah, I've got just a regular car. No truck or anything large like a bigger vehicle. So I managed to get it into my car, damaged the roof, the ceiling of my car a little bit, of course, because it is a ping pong table fitting into the back of a car. Pretty impressive. Get it out, get it into the house. Becky comes home from her shopping, and she had been out buying gifts for everybody and doing the right thing as far as thinking about others. And I'm all proud of my ping pong table that I bought for myself. And she says, I can't believe you bought a ping pong table for yourself while I'm out here buying stuff for everybody else. And I was like, this is going to be great. And you know what? We never play it. We never play ping pong. And at best, we would fold our laundry on the ping pong table, like our pajamas and that sort of thing. So that's the time that I got suckered into the Black Friday madness, and I ended up having to give the table away.
So there was a time when Dad and I would go fishing regularly on Sundays, if things worked out, and a lot of times they did. We'd go fishing on Sundays. Well, one week Dad went on Sunday, and I didn't go with him. Now then, the next Sunday, pardon me while I take care of this little project here, fudsicle. So anyway, the next Sunday I went with him, and we went to the same place he had gone the week before. And he said, Bobby, he says, see if you can find my ring. I lost it when I was fishing last week. And I said, well, Dad, you walk all along the river. You want me to find your ring? Tell me, which side of the river were you on? How far did you go down? When did you wade in the water? He said, no, I didn't wade last week, but I walked along the river. I went about half a mile. I went in to the field a little ways away from the river, and I took a poop. And then I went back to the river, and I walked up some more, and about another half mile, caught a nice string of fish, and I came back. And when I got back, my ring was gone, my Masonic ring. I said, oh, okay, I'll see what I can do. So I didn't mind not fishing. I liked looking for things anyway, so I walked along the river, looked down, looking, high weeds, high grass, just everything. Walked about half a mile, and I thought, well, that looks like a spot where maybe he went in there and took his morning duty and went up a ways. I looked around on the ground, and I saw some toilet paper and some poop. Dad always carried toilet paper because he knew he'd do that out there. He never would bury it or anything. And so I looked around, and there was a pile of poop still there a week later, and not too far from it was his ring. And it wasn't in the poop, thank goodness. I picked up his ring, and I fished a little while. I don't remember if I caught anything or not. I really didn't mind. And went back to the truck, and I said, oh yeah, here, Dad, here's your ring. He was so surprised. And I told him where I'd found it and stuff. He said, well, that makes sense. So the night that Dad got really sick, he had an aortic aneurysm at home, and he had to go to the hospital, and Mom called me, and I met him at the hospital, and Dad was still conscious, and they were getting ready to take him into surgery. And they told him, well, you have to take your ring off. He took the ring off, and he told me, he said, Bobby, this is that ring. This is my ring that you found for me. Remember? I said, yeah, Dad, I remember. How could I forget, you know? So, anyway, that was one of the last things I said to Dad. As they were pushing him on the gurney, this is at St. Joseph Hospital, pushing him down the hallway. They were doing construction at the hospital. And he looked up and he could see above the ceiling tiles where it was open. And he says, where the hell they have me? You got me in some... where you got me? Some garage somewhere or something? What is this? I said, no, Dad, this is a hospital. They're just doing construction here. And he joked and he was making fun and stuff, but that was, he never came out of the surgery. It's the last thing I had, last words I had with Dad. So anyway, that's the story of Dad's ring.
This is a story about when I was in junior high, and it just goes to show you things sure have changed in how we do things, and even in how the medical field has changed in how they do things. When I was in junior high, I was probably 13 or 14 years old. My girlfriend Carol and I walked home from school every day, and it was about 2 miles. Not a problem. We liked our walk. Well, I was having trouble with my ear, and the only way to hear was to pull my ear down like this. So one day my mom says, well, stop at the clinic where my dad worked and have the ear doctor look in your ear and see if there's something that's the matter. So that day, Carol and I stopped at the clinic, and he looked at my ear and he said, well, there's something blocking your ear canal. And so he said, I'll remove it. Well, I sat there, and Carol was waiting for me. And what it was an extra bone that was growing in my ear canal. So he took a little instrument and he went inside my ear and he clicked that little instrument and broke the bone. He just broke it and took it out of my ear canal. And so after several minutes, he was done. And I was ready to get out of there. So Carol and I walked home. Well, my goodness, can you imagine people doing something like that nowadays? Well, several years later, I was probably in high school by then, I was having the same problem. So I went back to the same eye doctor, and he said, okay, yes, the bone has grown back, but it's real thin. So it'll just be one crack, and it'll be out of there. And so I said, okay, go ahead. Well, the technique I was using to distract me from the pain was I had a little eyelash trouble, and I had taken the eyelash that was causing me trouble, and I had pinched it in between my finger and my thumb. And I did it when I was in 7th grade too. So when he did this, I had this little piece of eyelash in between my thumb and my finger, and I just squeezed it and squeezed it and squeezed it. And he took his instrument and he snapped, and he said, oh, it was thin, but it goes way back. And so he cracked and he cracked and he cracked until he got rid of the bone. Well, oh, and that was tough. But I had my little technique of pinching my finger and my thumb together. So, I mean, and you could do this if you're ever scared. You could get a little piece of lint or something like that. It doesn't have to be an eyelash. And squeeze it in between your finger and your thumb. And so several years later, after Papa and I were married, I was having the same trouble. Had to go like this to hear. So I went to an ear doctor in Wichita, and he put me to sleep. He took a special instrument, and he cut right here. After he shaved some of my hair, he cut right here. He opened it up nice and wide. Then he took a drill, and he drilled the whole thing out, so that even the roots and all of that bone, so that if it has bone roots, I don't know. Anyway, he he drilled out the spot where the bone was growing, and he got rid of it, and I've been fine ever since. And the hair grew back, and I never had to go back to an ear doctor since then. So, can you imagine how things have changed? Number one, would someone about Isaac's age walk home from school 2 miles every day? I don't know. Would they be told to stop at the ear doctor and have the ear doctor look and be taken care of in the office like that? I don't think so. And would an ear doctor do that twice to the same patient? I don't think so. I think it's all changed so much. We're progressing and it's getting better. But you could still use my little technique if you want. Okay, that's all.
All right, this is the story of how I had to choose between Isaac and Khaki. And I think I did make the right choice. Back when Isaac was a baby, before he was even 1, or he could have been about 1, we lived in Portland, Oregon for a little while, and Khaki was with us, and Jim was at work, and so Khaki and Isaac and I were hanging out, and I can't remember how this all started, but basically what happened was, just to paint the picture for you, we lived in a neighborhood where all the houses were like over 100 years old, and they were kind of up on hills, and so there's like 10 steps to get down to the sidewalk, and then there was a sidewalk, and then, you know, we could go for walks or whatever. So Khaki got out of the front, and then she starts going towards the busy street that's not very far from our house, and I have the moment where I have to decide. Isaac's standing next to me, also we're by the street, and there goes Khaki, and she's going, and Isaac's standing here, and if I just take a few seconds to go grab Khaki, then she'll be fine and everything will probably be okay, but I just should not leave Isaac alone for even a few seconds, because that's not the right thing to do. So I said, dang it! I grab Isaac, we go into the house, get the stroller, put him in, put the seatbelt on, get him ready, chunk it down all the stairs, down to the sidewalk, and to look for Khaki, and she's gone, you know? And the whole time we hear cars like screeching their brakes, like, arr, arr. It's like, oh my gosh, Khaki, oh my gosh, Khaki. And we go around the block. I think it took a couple of circles around the block, and finally I found her sniffing in somebody's yard, and we got her, and I brought her home. Isaac in the stroller with me pushing, and I got Khaki. And so, but it was like, if I just go get her right now, it'll be okay. But I had to go through the hour long of searching, wondering if that was her getting hit, because I did pick Isaac and put him in the stroller, and put his seatbelt on, and do all the right things. So that's my story.
So one time, Byron's always coming up with fun stuff, and I remember one time when he decided that he was gonna stand for as long as he could without sitting down. And at first it was like, okay, whatever, Byron. But after a few hours, it was like, yeah, go Byron. And I thought he's gonna be in the Guinness Book of World Records. So I got really excited and cheering for him. And then we all sat down to like watch a movie in the evening, and Byron had to grab a pillow and like lean up against a wall. And I had to ask him how it ended, because I couldn't remember. He said it ended because he accidentally sat down. He sat down and was like, oh man, I guess it's over. But I thought that was pretty cool that he tried to stand for as long as he could.
And fun fact, I used Papa's tambourine as sound effects. Sound effects. Put that in the blooper reel.
That's funny. That was a good story. Oh, hello. What are you doing? You spilled on a chair pad.
Alright, blooper. Is there a lot of my face?
No. It's okay.
No, let's redo it, because I cut that with a blooper.
Okay,
I'll do it.
there's a ton on your nose.
Okay, I'll do it again.
Okay, you're gonna have to clean that up.
I know.
Because, geez, don't try and lick that. Alright. Well, just don't, like, do it like that next time. Okay, well, let me get your napkin. Hold on. Terrible.
How did I do that? I have to sit like this now, so my crotches and all got liquid on it. So that's good. I'm gonna sit like this, and then during the whole video they won't know, and then during the blooper they'll see that
That's
why.
probably gonna look weird.
It will.
No, it doesn't look that weird.
Okay.
I can't see it if you just have your feet like that.
Cool. Perfect.
Okay.
Make it laugh.
Okay.